Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing something just a little bit different. Actually, I'm finishing it up. I tore this car apart without knowing exactly what was wrong with it so I could find what was wrong. And of course, I filmed none of it because I'm a horrible person. But we're rolling now, so deal with it. Anyways, this is a 1994 Toyota Tercel. It belongs to a guy I work with. His son drives it. They had the timing belt and they had the oil pump done. And then after that, they had a big oil leak, and it looked like it was coming from either the crank seal or the cam seal or something up front. Asked if I could take a look at it. I said, sure, why not? So here we are. Let me show you what we're dealing with. This is just a single overhead cam engine. Camshaft sprocket's up there, comes down. Here's the crank sprocket right there. And the oil pump is actually, all of this aluminum is oil pump. All the way over behind the crankshaft pulley, everything. That's all part of the oil pump. The problem that I discovered was that the oil pump seal was bad, which is this little guy right here. This little guy sits right inside here and keeps oil from leaking out everywhere. And when it doesn't keep oil from leaking out everywhere, well, oil leaks out everywhere. What was happening was it was running down here, running down and dripping out at the lowest point, which happens to be underneath the crankshaft, of course. So it looks like it's a crank seal or maybe oil pan gasket, but it wasn't. So lucky me, this is actually one of the easier ones to do. And all we need to do is put this seal back in, put the oil pump drive back on, timing cover, and maybe valve cover gasket, and that's about it. So again, this is the oil pump drive seal we're replacing. And when I pulled the oil pump drive off, this seal was not seated all the way. And I can only guess that it's not an installation issue because it probably came already put together. I can only guess that it's just one in a long line of bad parts that everybody's been getting, no matter what you're doing to a car right now. Now, luckily the replacement one I got came in a box that looks like it's probably just as old as the car, which means it's probably been made at a time when people were paying more attention to the standards and the sizes, and it's probably gonna be okay. And I can tell you just without calipers, it is maybe a few thousandths bigger in diameter than this one is, so it's probably going to be a more snug fit. So all we can do is put this one in, put everything back together, hope for the best. Let's go. This is the best angle I'm going to be able to get you, so sorry if it's not the greatest, but it's what I have. This oil seal goes right here. You don't really need to get it soaked with anything. It should go in place fairly easily, like that. There we go, that's better. I don't want to damage this seal, but I do want to push on it at the hard part just to make sure that it's flush. There we go, it's not moving anywhere. So if you notice, this seal is just a little bit below the lip of this casting, and that's what you want. The last one, I don't think whoever manufactured it seated it all the way, which is why it leaked. This one is now seated all the way. We can put that drive gear back on and we should be good. This drive gear only goes on one way. If you notice, it's got a flat spot and there's a flat spot on here somewhere. Why don't I just turn this oil pump where I can see it? Durr. That's better. What am I, stupid? Okay, so if you notice, here's the flat spot I was talking about. It's not like the oil pump's hooked up to anything. I can just turn it as much as I need to. Yeesh. You know what, let's give myself a little bit of room here. I'm going to slip it off of this idler pulley that's up top. There we go. Why didn't I think of that before? Because I'm stupid. There we go. Now that's seated. Huh. See, it was easy. Dumbettes. All right, let's put the nut on this oil pump. And it's a 14 millimeter, and it's a lock nut, so it's a little bit oblong shaped on this outer side to help it lock into place. I just had to get a hand on that idler up there. Now we're hooked up, we're good to go. And we'll put the tension back on this here in a little bit. I'm not worried about that. Now I should be able to actually tighten that. All right, well, let's tension that belt back up. You can't see this part of it, but it's right here. There's a tensioner, and I'm just tightening this nut back up. The spring holds it in place, but then this nut keeps it from moving. There we go. There we go. It did turn the engine, but that's okay. Everything's timed. Now we gotta put the covers back on. Yay! this guy's got to go on here. I think it's some sort of splash guard shield thing, who knows, but that goes like that. So don't forget to put that piece on, like I almost did. This goes up here. You can sort of weasel it around a couple things, and I gotta go grab it from up top. There we go. Now we've got a few bolts to deal with, and that's about it. There we go. All right, that's the 3 bottom bolts. Next, we're gonna put this crank pulley back on. There's a keyway here. There's a keyway right here. If you can see it, there we go. Line those up, throw it on here, and bolt it down. There we go. I'll throw this bolt in. And then we'll get the impact out. All right, had to move you out of the way there, but this is a 19mm, and it might be noisy. There we go. And it looks like that's a little loose. It is. But it doesn't need to be loose at all. There we go. Oh, that engine turns. That's great. That's the bottom of the lower timing cover right there. And we've got 4 bolts left, but we need to put this upper cover on first. Once we do that, then we'll put the valve cover on and we'll be done. All right, so upper timing cover is now on. Not a whole lot of space to get into here. There's a bolt back down here that you can only get a wrench on. Everything else you can do at least a 10mm shallow socket to get to. But you want to make sure it's tight because it will definitely rattle and make noise. Plastic on plastic, plastic on metal if you don't have it tight. The only thing left is the valve cover gasket. I've got the original surface scraped down. They had a lot of RTV on it. I don't know who did it last, but there was actually remnants of the old rubber here that I had to scrape off, so I think that's why they had problems sealing it in the first place. You should not need RTV on this. This should be just gasket and go. And anytime I do a valve cover gasket, generally speaking, I'm going to paint the valve cover. This thing was rusted and gross. Hosed it off, couple coats of black paint, it's ready to go back on. The gasket for this is just 1-piece molded silicone. It's got your little overhead cam bumps at each end. It does have a specific way it's got to go on. If you look, there are 2 bumps down here at the bottom. Those match 2 little bumps on this side of the valve cover, so you know which way it goes. And it just goes right into the groove on this valve cover. No silicone needed. It should stay in place. It should not leak. It'll be nice and neat. And I really hope I'm not going to find myself here in a little bit going back and putting silicone on this. So if you notice, there's a little lip right here. This lip goes over top of that timing cover. Other than that, you're just slipping it over these bolts here and sliding it into place. We're over top of the lip of this front timing cover. Yep. We've got that pressed down. And the valve cover gasket kit I got came with brand new rubber seals for the valve cover hold down bolts. And it's got the washer molded into it, which is nice. Some of them only have the rubber and you have to reuse the washer. And then all you have is a couple bolts here. Hook some hoses up and we'll be done. All you're gonna do, if you tighten them down too much, is warp this sheet metal valve cover. So just snug, about like that, right there. And all these little breather hoses and everything else need to go back on. There go the dogs barking at what is probably, hopefully, a FedEx guy delivering parts for that Dodge Raider. We can only hope. Tighten the belts. Alternator is one spot that needs to be tightened. The second one is power steering, and that'll take up all the slack and we'll be done. Everything is snugged up here. Everything is plugged in. What we need to do is we need to start this and look for oil leaks underneath. So that's what we're going to do next. What we're looking for is leaks in this general area, and while I don't see anything right now, we're gonna let this run for 5 or 10 minutes where it would build up enough volume to actually be leaking outside, and then we'll take a look at it again. All right, this thing's been running for about 10 minutes. Let's look and see if we've got a leak or no leak. I'm betting 90% no leak. Look at that, perfectly dry. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's probably fixed. Right underneath there, yeah. No issues. That was our oil leak. So got this car fixed up, ready for the road, and probably another 150,000 miles. That's gonna do it for today. Just a little side project for a guy I worked with, fixing an oil leak. New seal, installed all the way, no more leaks, and we're out of here. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks if you already do, and I will see you next time.